Marilyn Geary, who worked at the California Room for 18 years, helped me greatly with the research for this documentary. While working there, she surveyed immigration, especially the migration of Ticino natives to Marin County.
69, he was major from Baja.
I've done over 100 oral histories. In the Antique California Room has over 400 in their archives. I've interviewed Swiss-Italian ranchers, I've interviewed supervisors, all different kinds of people. In some ways, the immigration of the Swiss-Italians was very much like many other groups of immigrants. There was reasons that they had to leave, and that there were reasons to come here. But the Swiss-Italians, in particular, the very early ones, had certain circumstances that forced them out of Ticino.
One of the circumstances Marilyn refers to is the closure of the borders between Ticino and Lombardy by the Austrians, after Italian separatists tried to overthrow the Austrian dominion in 1848.
The General Radetzky, he was a Habsburg field marshal, and he forced over 6,000 Ticinese, who had been seasonal workers working in Lombardia, and forced them back into Ticino. There was no work for them, absolutely nothing for them to do, and it was a very hard time of a famine, and so they had to go somewhere. And coincidentally, there were the gold rushes, both in Australia and here in California. So it was a question of they pretty much had to leave. And some of them made it, and some of them didn't. The approximately 2,000 who went to Australia, many of them returned and weren't very successful. They started out with incredible debt, and they came back with even more debt. But Californians were more successful. Some of the ones who went over into the gold country were able to come back, and particularly here in Marin, buy large pieces of land and start ranching. One of those persons was Charles Martin, who was called Carlo Martinoia. He wasn't just a rancher, he branched out and did more. Ultimately, by bringing his fellow villagers over and funding them, helping them buy ranches, he became a banker, and he was on the board of directors of a number of banks in this area. And not only that, he started the Swiss-American Bank of Locarno, which had a branch in San Francisco and a branch in Locarno. I think a lot of that money went back into Ticino. So they became very well integrated. Not at first, but it didn't take too long for them to become integrated. The very early settlers from Ticino, like Carlo Martinoia and Martinelli and so forth, they brought over other villagers from their hometowns and gave them work. And those people worked hard as milkers, working on the ranch. They saved enough money so that they could rent a ranch, and then they eventually had enough money so they could buy ranches. They had purchased large tracts of land, they had come with nothing, and they had worked hard and made themselves very successful.